Nerdcast assemble!
Stay dandy, baby. I wonder if Deepa is a fan of the One Piece anime and manga series, because his abilities are officially revealed in this episode, and they're very similar to armament haki. You see, in the One Piece anime series, they have this special ability which is known as haki, which essentially allows these people to harden their body, and it turns into sort of like this jet black color, and essentially allows them to armor themselves some really powerful attacks. And that's basically what Deepa does in this episode, is revealing the fact that he is sort of carbonized his entire body. Not only can he do that to himself, but he can also control stones and basically makes them fly around like some weird, freaky, psychic madman. And overall, this was a pretty awesome episode of Boruto Naruto Next Generations. The last couple of episodes I thought were honestly pretty solid, but this one was great because not only did we get to see Deepa, but we also got the return of Victor, who reveals some of his abilities, which are just plain strange to say the least. So let's go ahead and unpack what this entire episode is all about. So basically, in the last one, Boruto has decided to team up with Hiruga, who's going to try and find his brother Asaka so they can try and figure out what they're going to do with the Hashirama cells. They do eventually meet up, which is a pretty tense confrontation because Asaka feels that his brother is a clone who's just there to try and steal the Hashirama cells. After pressing a kunai knife up against his knife and he realizes that he made a big mistake, they decide to back up. When suddenly Deepa arrives and basically starts kicking all sorts of ass. This is where the action basically begins and never stops. What's really great here is that, like I said, not only do we get Deepa, but we get the return of Victor, and they basically make it pretty clear that both of these characters are working together, and they will stop at nothing but to get these Hashirama cells. And that's when we finally get the battle between these two groups, with Victor going up against Konohamaru and Mugino, and then of course Deepa going up against Boruto, Sarada, and Mitsuki. And both fights are pretty freaking insane. I want to go ahead and talk about Victor for a second because he definitely has the shortest fight, but he pretty much dominates Mugino and Konohamaru, and his abilities are strange, to say the least. I mean, not only is he incredibly fast and uses his cane like a freaking weapon, but also he has the ability to summon an extra pair of arms from his back. Someone's been training with frickin' Tien Shenhan. I don't know how he uses this ability. I'm gonna chalk it up to some crazy experimentation, but I did not expect anything like this from this character, and really they're just sort of scratching the surface with what he can do with these, as they don't really get to show much of it in battle. Overall, though, it looks freaky. Victor has turned into Goro from Mortal Frickin' Kombat. But then there's Deepa, who ends up battling against Boruto, Sarada, and Mitsuki, and to say that he dominates them would be an understatement. And what I really loved about this episode is I thought they were going to go into the route of watching Boruto and his friends come up with a crazy strategy that ends up tripping up Deepa, and he ends up getting defeated and basically looking like a little punk-ass bitch. That's not the case at all. What I really love about this episode is that Boruto and his friends are in their first real true life and death situation. That's not to say that they haven't had situations like this before, but this is the first moment where they've gone up against an opponent who is so overwhelmingly powerful that there's really nothing that they can actually do against him. This is the moment where things are going to change for them, where they're going to have to train to get better, more competent, and powerful. Because while they bring out some of their best abilities in this episode, they simply cannot put a dent in Deepa. There was this really great scene towards the end where Mitsuki has been severely defeated, Sarada's been overusing her Sharingan, and Boruto comes up with a plan where he's going to use every ounce of his chakra to try and take out Deepa with one Rasengan blast. And it looks like it's totally gonna work. Like, Sarada ends up tricking him, Boruto comes in point blank, hits him right in the stomach, and Deepa even starts screaming at the top of his lungs. You can tell that he is extremely damaged by this attack, when suddenly he starts to smile, basically tricking Boruto, taking the Rasengan, and defeating him with one flick of his freaking finger. Basically, Deepa just whipped all sorts of ass in here. He ends up taking the Hashirama cell back from Asaka, so basically the Haze Ninja have been completely screwed over. It sucks to be them, and their village is probably going to be deeply affected by this. Victor and Deepa have the Hashirama cell, and the episode ends with Boruto and his friends losing. That's right. There is still one more major surprise for this episode, as it looks like Deepa is probably going to end up trying to finish them off when suddenly Mitsuki arrives yet again, this time using his Sage Art abilities, which is only, I believe, one of the few times that we've actually seen it in the show, maybe the third time, if I do recall. I'm maybe missing another. The point is, this was awesome. I really thought, again, maybe they were going to do it. Maybe they were going to try and defeat Deepa in this episode with his Sage abilities, but again, they continue to build up the members of Kara as someone who are a true threat and simply cannot be defeated by inexperienced ninja. While Mitsuki looks leagues awesome and one of the coolest looking characters in the series when he's in that mode, and even ends up hitting Deepa with a massive blast of his like lightning freaking sage infused snakes, it doesn't do anything. He basically has to use his abilities to save Boruto and Sarada and to escape. And Deepa's fine. He takes this attack like head on, gets up, and he's still trucking. I love that they have made this character not just someone who's going to be kicked to the curb. They truly do make him something of a threat, and that was my biggest fear with this character because he's an anime original creation. I thought that he was going to be like one of the weakest members of the team, but it looks like they're actually going to make him something of a threat for the series. And that's awesome. It's a major relief, and what's even better is that when you see the preview for the next episode, you get to see that this was an absolute total defeat, as it looks like they're actually going to return to Konoha Village with their tails tucked between their legs and having to reform and make a brand new plan. Essentially, this mission was an utter failure for the group, and that's a massive moment for the series, as Boruto and his friends always end up winning the day with the power of friendship. Well, you know what? Not this time. This time they learn that sometimes you get your ass spanked, and Kara was the one doing the spanking in this episode. So, what's the rundown on this episode of Boruto Naruto Next Generations? I loved this episode. It wasn't perfect. Some of the animation moments looked a little wonky at times, but for the most part, this was a really great display of how powerful these brand new villains are actually going to be for the series, as they're the first true major threat in all of Boruto. And that's not speaking, of course, of like Momoshiki and everything. Remember, that was Naruto and Sasuke's fight. That was on a completely different level of superpowered characters. This is the main character of the series finally coming up against someone that they simply cannot defeat with the power of friendship or through their very own will. They're going to have to get stronger. They're going to have to come up with new strategies. Basically, the Kara arc is kicking into full swing here, and it's showing that these are villains that you simply cannot mess with. You have to take them absolutely serious if you want to take them down. And I love that Deepa showed no weaknesses. Like, they hinted at the fact that maybe he could be defeated by something, but he takes so many different attacks in this episode, whether it's a massive fireball, a Rasengan to the stomach, or even a massive blast from Mitsuki's Sage mode. This guy just keeps on moving. All it ever really ends up doing is maybe put him to his knees, but he ends up getting up with a big smile and nary a scratch on his entire body. This is a great display for this anime original character, and it's got me so excited to see more of him. And I was really surprised to see Victor as well with the weird like double arms coming out of his back thing. That was just strange. I never imagined anything like that for the character, and it gets me really excited to see of how more they're going to build up on him and more, and to see where these characters are going to thrive from here. It's very obvious that the anime version is going to be making some big changes to the manga in terms of the introduction of the characters of Kara, but thus far, I think they're doing a pretty damn good job of it, and they're just really building it up in the best way possible. I just love these episodes, guys. I really am enjoying it, and I can't wait for the next episode and to see where this story is eventually going to head from here, as it makes me realize that there's going to be a lot more surprises for people who only read the manga version if they're watching the anime, and this episode right here was just tops. I really loved it. And what's the deal with the Hashirama cells? Like, what are they actually going to plan to do with these? I'm really interested to see how they're going to be implemented, and I wonder if Deepa is somehow going to be involved with this, or maybe Victor is going to use them on some sort of person. It's just, there's so many more prospects here, and the fact that it's not entirely based on the manga version also means lots more surprises. Production value-wise, like I said, this is a pretty good-looking episode, which had some really solid-looking moments of it in terms of the movement and the animation. There were a few moments that looked a little wonky, like I said. There were a few moments with Victor that I felt, they were okay, and I felt like they could have been done a lot better. But overall, I thought that this was a very exciting and super entertaining episode of the series, and I cannot wait to see more. So, as a Naruto fan, I'm very satisfied. As a Boruto fan, I'm immensely satisfied. So, that's my thoughts on the episode. 4 out of 5 from me. Super solid episode of the series. So much good to take from this one, but your thoughts may differ, and I'd love to get yours in the comment section below, telling me what you thought about this big major confrontation with 2 members of Kara, Deepa and Victor. If you had any favorite moments from this episode and what you hope to see from the future of the Kara arc in the Boruto anime series. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. Please subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. If you liked this video, use your Sage mode. Smash that like button. It helps out these videos a lot. I would like to also thank all of my patrons who've been checking out my Patreon page, making monthly donations. Remember, first-time donators, I'll review an anime series of your choice. And I will add your name to this list of super amazing people who support this channel every single day. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. I'll see you all next time. And as always, stay down there, baby.